to the Joust Presents Mad Mondays.
Mad Mondays, Nagy, episode 3.
Can you believe it?
No, I can't.
I can
Why
barely-
are people still listening?
I don't know. They keep tuning in.
And God bless them for it.
And we love them all the
We
same.
love you so much for it, fans, for putting up with our drivel. Thank you.
Now, Liam, as the Joust Presents, we like to do things in the off-season. And
Well, we've got nothing else to do.
nothing
so
else to
we have
do.
to do it in the off-season.
it's purely we have...
It's part of our community service commitment.
Yeah, it's this, or we're just at home talking on the phone, doing the very same thing.
Yeah.
So, but we can't have a Mad Monday without celebrating something this week for Mad Monday. So what
Absolutely. Now, this week we're celebrating. Now, this was a big one, guys, in history. If you go to Russia, which I imagine some of you out there would be looking to do.
I've never been. Can
Never
you believe
been?
it? No.
Well, if you were to be in Russia on this particular day, you would be celebrating the October Revolution. Today is the celebration day for the October Revolution.
Yeah.
Of course, 1917, the proletariat rose up, overthrew the Tsar.
Yeah.
Tsar Nicholas.
the royalty.
The royalty, yeah. Ended hundreds of years of oppressive rule by the Tsars.
Thank God for that. Now they're into another new 100 years of different oppression, I guess.
I feel like, yeah, Russia's just this constant stream of being oppressed.
Yes. Such a big place.
It's a large place, but I feel like it'd be very sad to live there.
Because I always thought because you know how Australia's quite big, right?
It's large.
But if you went from Sydney to Perth, and it would pretty much be the same. You're talking to the same people-ish, and it's like the same language used, and there's not really an accent. There's people always talk about the Adelaide accent, but it's pretty faint, really.
It
Like,
is. It sounds a bit wanky, though.
it's that broad accent.
Faintly wanky.
Broad? No, what is it called?
Now it's more refined. It's more
Refined accent,
refined.
yeah. Yeah, and it's a little bit
Yeah.
British. But
They
like,
say dance.
but it's, yeah.
it's a fucking dance.
But then you might go like an hour in west, and then you hear like a little bit more of that the broader act, that kind of like. And when you go to these places, it's always funny. Like I find myself doing it. That when I'm in sort of in the deeper, like if I happen to be going to I don't know Inverell, like somewhere. If I find myself in there, suddenly I'm the most Australian bloke you can find. Like I'm like.
Well, I've noticed that as well when you go overseas, because obviously we've got a bit of a reputation overseas, the Australians. So
Yeah.
in my trips overseas, I notice when I get there, it's like everything. Oh, g'day, mate. How are you?"
Yeah, and you really throw it out and you talk about surf. Like I've never surfed a day in my life, right? But I'll talk about surfing. Like,
That's it. I've never paid attention to the V8s,
Yeah.
and yet I still found myself discussing which was better, Ford or Holden.
It's like when you go in, like you go in west, and then they talk about like because you live on the coast, you must love to fish, because they all love to fish out west for some reason because they can't have it. You
No,
see?
it's so rare, yeah.
And because we're surrounded by an ocean, they think, well, you must love to fish. And then
I'm sick of them.
But the only fishing I ever did when I was 12. But I hang on to that sort of like thing. And I'm like, yeah, go to this spot, get a couple of whiting, and and then they'll be like, oh, good size. You're like, oh, not good enough to keep.
Went out with Uncle Rex, me dear Uncle Rex Hunt.
Yeah, a good friend of the show.
Good friend of the show, avid listener of the show.
Do you reckon in Russia that if you go from one side to the other side, they're pretty much the same people?
Well, no, it spans 2 continents.
Yeah, it's a big place.
It takes up a part of Europe. It takes up a part of Asia. You'd be like meeting an alien.
Yeah.
There's places in Russia so cold that the birds freeze while they're flying.
Christ.
That's it. In Siberia, there's a particular town that's known for birds freezing mid-flight and collapsing to the ground. A frozen carcass of a flying bird.
Just like in the mid-air, they
Mid-flight, mid-air. They
just
just
hit a cold point and then drop.
Yeah, because there's a couple of months of the year where it's like 40, 50 degrees below zero.
I did see
Celsius.
I think on like I think it was like 60 Minutes or something. They had a thing and they went to Siberia purely just to talk about how cold it is. And they dipped like a tea towel into water, and they span it above their head, and then that became like a solid like object, like
A weapon.
like a sword.
It
Yeah.
became a weapon.
Yeah, it's such an amazing place because Australia pretty much has 2 sort of things there. It's like hot and a bit wet, like
Hot and a bit wet.
and that's about it. And then
Or hot, and we also get hot and very wet.
yeah. But even the cold, when people are like, oh, it got below 10 today, and it's like
That's not very cold.
It's jacket weather, and that's about it. But it's amazing that you can have such a big place and it's all pretty much the same, and that's why I love it. That's why I adore it, and that's why
Greatest country on earth, Australia.
that's why I continue to live here.
Yes. Also, the crippling financial situation that would lead to you not being able to afford to move out of the country.
Anywhere else, yeah, that's or even move,
Also, and what other country would have us?
that's true.
What country would, by their own will, let us into their country?
Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of people and we're talking, without getting too political, Liam.
Oh.
But like, there's always this thing of like, yeah, should we like political?
Politics warning.
But it's like it's all the thing of like people coming to the country and it's like, oh, I don't want them living here. But it's also that freedom. Like if I said I wanted to move to Korea, south, like
Of course.
or north,
Or
no.
north.
But it's that thing of like that you should feel the right to be able to do that. I don't know why that is. Like,
I had an interesting experience about this when I was living in Canada. Now, we all know that cabbies
Yeah.
around the world, cabbies the world round, are not known for their very progressive views on immigration.
yeah,
So I got in the back of a cab in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
yeah.
And I was a bit intoxicated, yes, be that as it may.
Yeah, but you have to be if you're in a cab. If
You
you're not,
have to
if
be.
you're not intoxicated, you're driving. Like,
Exactly.
that's-
And so this cabbie, he says, "Oh, where are you from there, bud?" And I was like, "I'm from Australia." He said, "Oh, yeah, what are you doing here there, bud?"
he sounds a little bit like a farmer and or a pirate. Like,
Well, it's Nova Scotia. Most of them are farmers, and lots of the farmers used to be pirates. And so he said, "Hey, what are you doing here, bud?" And I was like, "Oh, I've come over here. I've got a job. I've met a girl. It's wonderful. I love it." He said, "Oh, that's good there, bud. You're doing real good there.
yeah,
You're loving it here. That's awesome, bud. We'd love to have you here." And
We'd
I was
love
like,
to
"Yeah,
have
it's
you."
good to be here." And he said, "Yeah, not like those goddamn immigrants." And I was like, "Sorry, I beg your pardon." He goes, "Oh, mate, they're just coming in there. They're taking the jobs there, by. They're taking the jobs, and they're just, getting our women out of here and taking the jobs, and just
Yeah.
they're not paying taxes." And I was sitting in the back, kind of thinking, well, I don't want him to kick me out of the cab,
No.
so I have to agree. However,
it's a funny. It's
I've just fulfilled every criteria he has
Yeah.
for this group of people he hates so much.
you're taking their jobs,
And yet, mere moments ago,
Yeah.
he was congratulating me for doing the same.
because you're taking their jobs, their women,
Yeah,
and their,
quite literally.
their money.
I didn't
and-
pay a dime in tax. I don't think.
I think, yeah. But it's a strange relationship you have when you're in a car with someone. Like in an Uber, this is a new thing. And there's also a different relationship you have with Uber drivers than you have with cabbies. Because you get in the cabbie, at the end of the night, you're coming home from Beaumont Street. You hop in at the front of the Kent with a kebab that you're trying to hide from him. And you say, and there's always that same conversation of, you been busy, mate? And it's always, that's another awkward time that you really...
Been busy, mate.
You really you'd leave your friends and be like, "See you, darlings, love you to bits, bye bye." You get in the cab, you're like, "How you going, chief? You will?" Yeah, g'day, Paul. All right, and then you have that conversation, unless they're obviously from another part of the world, and then you have to suss out you've been watching the cricket,
Actually, well, yeah, to that end, I love... When I'm drunk, I don't know much about cricket. But
Yeah.
when I've had a few beers, I'm getting a cab home. For some reason, as soon as I get an Indian driver or a Pakistani driver, Bangladeshi driver,
Yeah.
I don't know much about cricket, but I just launch into cricket.
straight
I'm
in.
like, "Oh, whereabouts are you from?" "Oh, I'm from India." "Oh, which part?"
Yeah.
"Who's your team in the 2020? What's happening in the test?"
What's happening? Yeah, but it's funny because they're probably going back to India, going, "These Australians love cricket."
Yeah.
Really, it's
we
all-
don't know a thing about it.
it's on the perimeter of our mind, but that's all they talk to Australians about because they're like, cricket, great. But you have this different relationship now with Uber drivers because Uber drivers are they seem like the people's drivers, if you know what I mean. They don't have any sort of registration. It's just like you're getting into a weird friend's
Just a mate's car.
a mate's
yeah.
car, and then it's sort of and you want to find out more about their life. You never ask a cab driver, "So how'd you get into cab driving?" But you'll happily ask, "So why are you driving an Uber?" And it's this rich story that follows I grew up in Wollongong and I broke up with my wife and now I'm living with a prostitute in in Hamilton and I decided to make ends meet. And it's it's just this divide, but they're doing the exact same job.
It's the same job,
Yeah.
but in a different format.
Do you know the thing that Uber really has going for it? The really pinnacle thing is that it's like the Facebook top friends. It's the star rating that you receive as well.
4.93, baby.
I'm in the 4.9s too, but I
Yeah.
realized that I had dropped because I didn't realize you could check your star rating, and then I looked at mine and saw that I'd dropped down to 4.65 or something like that.
Ooh.
And I was like, you cannot get one of those without a low rating. It's bringing you down.
Well, I'd love to be able to go through and find out who gave me a low rating.
Mm.
Not for any sort of vengeance or I don't want to wreak havoc upon them. I would love to make amends. I'd love to go to them and say, "Look, give me another ride. Let me try again. I'll converse more. In saying that, I don't generally like conversing in the car because
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a hermit.
Yes.
But it's like, you know what? If I get my rating up, I'll talk more. I'll bring some sweets. I don't know.
I don't know. It's something because they want their rating up, obviously, because that's their job. But as a customer, whether it's 4.6 or 4.9, that shouldn't make any difference. But it's really
It
something
makes a difference to the
to the
heart,
heart, yeah,
to the ego.
to your psyche that you're really trying to work. That you want these strangers to like you.
Oh, absolutely. You know, especially for people like myself, very insecure people. I want every stranger to like me.
Tremendously
That's
insecure.
how I have to.
It's like I always think, I was like, what did I do? What did I do to this guy to bump me down? To possibly give me a 3-star rating out of all the all the
Nagy,
trips I've
having
had.
been with you after the Kent a number of times, I can think of many things that you would have done to drop your star rating.
I can just imagine this guy. He's like, he kept talking about cricket, like, and he's like, it's like, I kept asking where he lived, and he kept wanting to talk about Sachin Tendulkar. I'm not even Indian, like
Or you get the white Uber driver. He bloody loved immigrants. He was saying, "Oh, let them all in." Oh, no, 2 stars, nothing.
It's a weird sort of political minefield that when you hop into a cab with a stranger. And
Oh, absolutely. I mean, politics, right?
no, you're not allowed to touch that anymore.
That was my weekly allowance.
There's one
I've used it up.
reach across.
One Glocken.
Yeah. But there's also this, it's a strange sort of thing to find someone, Uber driving, you think, okay, I could become an Uber driver. But then there's like, you never really thought like, oh, I'd really like to become a cabbie. Because like, if you're a bit short of work one week, you're like, well, all these people are Uber driving. And maybe I'll just zip around town, start when I want, be my own boss, and it's got that really nice feel to it. But it's probably never something that people wanted to do from a young age. Can you remember what you wanted to do, Liam, from a young age? Like,
Absolutely. I wanted to be an ABC anchor.
yeah.
Following in the footsteps of the great Richard Moorcroft. Let's face it, the chemistry that Richard Moorcroft and Mike Bailey had as an anchor and weatherman on the ABC News for about 20 years
course.
was unbelievable. It was... I grew up in front of the ABC News. 7 o'clock,
Yeah.
ABC. I was watching it for about 2 or 3 years old. And we go to school and they'd be like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Some kid's like, I want to be Spider-Man. The other idiot's like, I want to be a fire truck. I'm like, you can't be either of those, you idiots. I want to be an ABC News anchor.
Well, I think because
I didn't have many friends.
Because it used to follow on from the ABC Kids afternoon scheduling. You know
I
what I
didn't
mean?
care for the ABC Kids. No, this was
But you-
before ABC Kids.
No, but you're 3. Surely you wouldn't realize.
I realised.
They had kids like appropriate shows, and it would have just rolled into and it was like such a bawling tune too.
Honestly, Richard Moorcroft is the greatest newsreader this country has ever seen.
yeah.
Went on to achieve a bit more light-hearted fame, hosting Letters and Numbers. I also really wanted to go on Letters and Numbers. I just
Yeah.
love Richard Moorcroft.
He's a really good guy.
Oh, he's a great guy.
He just seems like someone that you've had in your home a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't seem to age much either.
No, he was...
'Cause,
You know,
like-
he looked 50 when I was 4.
Yeah, and then still now looks about 50-ish.
Yeah, which is strange because he must be going on 100.
Might have the old boot polish in the hair.
Yeah.
That's a slang term.
Mum ran into Mike Bailey in the elevator at work the other day.
Which one's Mike Bailey?
He was the weatherman for ABC.
On ABC.
Yeah.
I can't remember which
For
one
about
that
20
is.
years.
Mike Bailey.
He
Okay, I tell you
he
what,
kind of has that face where you wouldn't recognise him.
I can remember another weatherman with Bailey, Tim Bailey. Could you have a more aggressive coke addict on television nightly?
Well, that's the funny thing. Mike Bailey was about the polar opposite of Tim Bailey. As far as weathermen go, they're not in the same league.
Yeah.
You know, Mike Bailey, Tim Bailey, I'd call, he's a pop weatherman.
He's a pop weatherman.
He's a pop weatherman. He's not serious about the weather. Mike Bailey was all weather all the time.
He's like, he'd be
It
like,
was brilliant.
all right, here we are in Wollstonecraft. We've got the People's Choir. Give us a song. Ah! He'd be like, all right, we got some rain coming, but give us another song. All right, guys, Tim Bailey out. And then he's like, oh, like
But
he's,
he even renamed the barometer Bailey's barometer. You cannot rename a barometer.
That you didn't
That is a
invent.
centuries-old invention. You
Yeah.
can't just go slapping your name on it.
he was absolutely insane, and still is. Is he still on television?
I hope so. Otherwise, he's got nothing to do.
He's a guy that has aged terribly. He's, you know what I mean? Like
Time hasn't been kind to
he
him.
skipped from 30 to 50. There was no 40 for him. He just went from like looking like quite a young guy that was quite like, and then he skipped 40s and went like he looks like an old guy trying to really hold on to his age. But
Well,
I tell you what that is.
feel like there may have been some botched work
Yeah.
contributing to that.
Probably reconstructing the upper nasal. I don't know if he did cocaine. I just feel like that he's like the kind of guy that would do copious amounts
As far
of
as
cocaine.
I'm concerned, everyone on television does cocaine regularly.
But he was like the guy out in the street, you know. He wasn't like the guy with the map. You know what
He
I
was
mean?
the
Like,
man on the street weatherman.
He was the man with
Which
the
I didn't
people.
like.
No. Bring it back to the
If
studio.
you're a weatherman, you'd be in the studio studying your charts and such. So, Mike
Who was-
Bailey, big fan.
And Tim
Avid-
Bailey, not so
Not so
much.
Mike and Richard, of course, avid listeners of the show.
Obviously,
Love the
they
show.
love it. But like, who's the guy that used to be on NBN before? I can't remember either of his name now.
Gav Morris.
There's Gavin Morris, but
before
before
Gav
Gavin
Morris.
Morris, There was another guy.
Well,
No,
you've
I've
lost me
forgotten.
now.
I've lost him
That's
anyway. He was, I don't know, Youngfield. Gary
Youngberry.
Gary Youngberry.
Yeah.
That's the one. The Youngberry. Hey, for some reason, I liked him. And I remember we
Oh,
lost.
the Youngers was great.
We lost him to Gold Coast Station at the same time that we lost Chief from the Footy Show. I remember it was in the same paper. And I
What
was
a
like,
bad time for Newcastle.
and it was a bad time for Channel 9. I was like, it's falling to bits. And I was like, Newcastle like statesmen that have just moved on. You know, because I don't know, that's all I did at the time was watch the weather and watch the Footy Show, apparently. The two things I cared about.
Well, the funny thing is, current NBN news reporter Nat Jeffries can regularly be seen at the Lass. And if you mention that you love his work, he's more than happy to have a beer and a game of pool with you. That is what a sports reporter should be.
He's probably terribly...
You see him at the pub, you say, hey, mate, I love your work.
Yeah.
And he says, let me buy you a beer, let's play pool and have a chat. Nat Young...
He wants strangers to like him, just as you do with Uber drivers.
I associate with him. Yes, yeah, because I remember seeing him at the last, and I was like, "That's a sports reporter."
Yeah.
Getting out amongst the people, sharing some beers with them, playing some snooker.
Do you remember a time when you realised your dream of becoming the ABC anchor is gone and you can't do it anymore, or you feel like you're like, oh, okay, you're like, that's the moment you're like,
Wait, that's gone?
yeah,
Shit.
it's
Why are we doing this?
It's a hard road back, Liam. Is what
It's
I'm
a
trying to say.
hard road
but
back.
like, because you know, that question dries up. You get it when you're like, 4, 8, 12, and then 16. It's like, no, but seriously, what are you doing with your life?
Then
You know what I mean? Like,
24, 25. What are you doing
What
with
are you
your
doing?
goddamn life?
quit talking about the AB fucking C. Like, you got to talk reality. You're becoming a builder or joining the army. Because that's
Sorry, I heard reality. I'm going on the block. So that's my new dream. Going on the
go
block.
on the block.
No, I'm not one for manual labour.
I'm not one for the host. Who's the host? Scott.
Scott Cam.
Cam. Yeah. Apparently, he's not a very nice man, Scotty
Really?
Cam. But well, I heard it from one person, which I believe immediately. This is what happens with celebrities. You got a well-known celebrity, right? And then
Was it Jamie Jury who told you that?
yeah, quite quite possibly.
When you were on Backyard Blitz?
Yeah, and I was like, that bastard, Scotty Cam. You get like you can watch him for hours, and you can watch all these interactions. He looks like a lovely person. You have one person go, I saw him, at the bar,
Ruins it for you.
and they said, "Piss off, mate, you're being a clown," and you're like, "Oh, he must be a wanker." Like, and that's it. They're crossed out of history in your life. But it's
From one indiscretion.
from one indiscretion that and you believe the stranger or like the person you barely know.
The man in the street.
Yeah,
You believe the man in the street.
and you think, well, I can see no other possibility than he
Yeah.
is obviously a wanker, and the fame has gone to his head, and he used to be that tradesman that everyone loved to have around, and he would do some tiling, and he'd make you a cuppa, you know what I mean?
And
Like-
he'd bring the beers.
and he'd bring the
He'd
beers.
do the tiling, but he would also supply the beers.
Yeah, and it's like, and there'll probably be sponsors of the show, like the Extra Dry. Isn't Extra Dry a terrible beer, by the way?
It's woeful.
I don't know how it's still been made. It's awful.
Well, I know that Jeff Beavis was keeping it in business for a while, because that back fridge in the garage at Jeffo's house, that was never short of a 10 or 2.
it's a dad's beer. It really is a dad's beer. Like, it's like, and
Particularly Elliot's dad.
I don't, yeah.
Also, cheers, Jeffo.
Yeah.
Man was wonderful. Let me live on his couch for a couple of weeks. God bless that
I used-
sweet man.
I remember I came around a few times when you were living there. That was great. Yeah,
Elliot
yeah.
didn't even live there. I just said to Jeffo, can I live at your house for a bit? And he said, yeah.
Yeah,
It was great.
Well, I remember when I was coming back from the Gold Coast, actually, Elliot offered me to stay at his house too, and I was like, "This is tremendous," because I had nowhere to live, but I found somewhere to live. I live with Kelly Wilson.
God bless Jeff Beavis.
And then Elliot
and
moved in
God
with us.
forbid Kelly Wilson.
Yes, no.
No, we love Kelly Wilson.
Well,
Great contributor to the show.
He is. He does like it, and he that's probably the most positive thing I can say about Kelly. No. I love him to bits. I've been to bits. Liam, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back for the second half of Mad Mondays.
Multiple pennies.
Welcome back to the second half of Mad Mondays, episode 3. Liam, thank you so much for joining us. And Liam, I've noticed, as you often do, I'm just going to let everyone in to a bit of... I know, it's exciting.
Welcome to our world,
Welcome to-
jousters.
It's an exciting part of the world that you often cook for Liam and I. No, I don't refer to you in the third person. For Elliot and I.
Gladly.
When we do these things, and you're such a good cook.
Thank you.
But see, like someone like myself, not such a good cook, and we'll go back to the staples straight away. Of
Milk.
like spaghetti bolognese. Like,
Mostly milk. Maggie
a-
drinks a lot of milk.
a lot of milk. But
Yeah.
it's now a thing. I've noticed it's now a thing in like now you can't cook a delicious meal. In for anyone. You can cook it for yourself, but you're not cooking it just for yourself because you take a photo of it and you now share it with everyone you've ever met in your life.
You're cooking for the world.
You are cooking for the world, and this is the same thing that everyone's sort of like bouncing back at you. Look at the delicious food that I'm cooking, and then it's like it's like you only get, and it's like look at all the delicious food that I'm preparing for the week, and you're like, my God, he's eating poached chicken and broccoli, dry with rice, brown.
You know what they don't show you, Nagy?
What
They
actually?
don't show you the cheese on toast with barbecue sauce, salt and pepper at 4 a.m. No one is putting that on Instagram.
No one Instagrams the drinking of the last bit of the chips in your own bed. Like,
I
you know
gotta
what I mean?
love drinking the chip crumbs.
Like, you know what about drinking? Like, you know, you really like, because like especially Pringles, because you can't get your hand down there. I don't know the bastards that designed that to make the tube just too small. Even how you contort your hand, you can never get. Like, you get to the point where you're still like just trying to flick them into your grasp.
But now, Nagy, that also is one of the reasons I love having a beard, because when you drink the chip crumbs, obviously some of them are going to miss.
Yeah.
If you're, a freshly shaven fella with a young face, it hits your face, it just slides off into the bed. I have the luxury of catching the crumbs in my beard
It's a functional beard.
and to pick them out, and I eat them.
It's functional hair.
It's functional hair.
And you might even find bits that weren't from this session.
Well, no, usually I let the dogs get them. I let the dogs get them.
Because you got 2 dogs at your house.
Yeah. I let the dogs, I'll lay down on the couch, have a bit of a nap, and just say, dogs, come groom me.
But I've got a... It's awful.
I don't really do that.
I'm calling it awful. Very bad. But what you hear a lot about now, when you hear about people talking about their diet, it's an interesting thing, because there's people like us who will openly say how awful at times our diet could be, and I think everyone's the same. At times,
At all times.
but there's there's times we eat well and we're not taking photos of it and showing how well we're eating. But like when you get these people on these diets, right, that they usually they found themselves online. It usually uses a word that's associated with clean, so like a lemon, and then using the word cleanse. So I'm on a lemon cleanse. It's good for the kidneys. Like, and it's not good for the kidneys. It's like
It's the kidneys do that naturally. You don't need to eat a lemon.
I'm on a wasabi cleanse, and you're like, well, I've had wasabi and it really cleans out the nasal, so it must clean out the rest of the body.
That's
as
what
well.
your liver does. You have a whole organ dedicated to only doing that.
There's a system down there.
Oh, it's stupid.
But the problem that I have is the accountability, right?
The
Because
accountability,
the
Nagy.
accountability. That's my word of the week.
It's a good word.
No, but the accountability of that, people will have their diet, and then the diet runs its course, and then they change the diet, but they can't tell everyone that they've been loving this diet so much, because you're sending this to 500-600 people, like, look at this, look at the chicken, look at the broccoli, and I'm not touching carbs, and I'm gluten free, and I don't touch citrus because citrus is acid, and all these terrible things. But then they're like, after they was like, oh, so you're still on the diet? It's like, no, my body was craving meat, and it's like. And for some reason, the body, like, it's not you. It's like, so you're craving meat? No, my body was craving carbs. And
I
it's like,
didn't want it. I didn't want to borrow it, but
I
it was my
want-
body.
My body was, and it wasn't responding well.
No.
It's like, because you're eating the same shit 5 nights a week, and
Well,
then-
that's it. My body wants to drink 6 of these fucking things and smoke a bunch of weed, but I react well to that.
But when, like, you could never say, like, my body is, like, you'd be saying, like, you go, like, I'm feeling really sick because of my choices. Not like, my body isn't doing this, my body's like, you are your body. Take your body
your
away.
body is your whole you. That's the only thing that is you.
If you were like just a jar with a brain watching your body, like, like going like, oh, my body isn't reacting well to this at all, I'm going to make some decisions.
Well, that's it, Nagy. I guess that calls into question, the entire concept of human consciousness. I mean, if you go back to the French philosophers in the 1800s, you had the concept of the pineal gland, where your consciousness is stored. Or then you have various ideas about what is consciousness. And then at the end of the day, the whole thing is, well, you're just a body. That's all you are. It's like your body's a... Yeah, I'll stop.
Ay,
I
caramba!
couldn't believe where that was going. I lost you when you started talking about
Did
parts.
you ever have me?
No, it's true. I still have never had you. But it's, no, it was insane. What do you wait on? No, but it was great. No, then that's
It was like Jean-Paul Sartre said, I think, therefore I am, on a diet.
Who?
That joke didn't really land, but that's all right. That's okay.
Those are, we'll give you a round of applause anyway.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're here all night.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
That's all right. I'm really loving the buttons. Sorry.
Oh, it's amazing that we have such technology.
The technology that we can do
A
things with.
computer with a screen
Yeah.
that you just touch.
I think
and it does what you want it to do.
it does various things. Now, Liam, it was like talking about food and like the decisions that you make as
they're all terrible.
because as an adult, and these are things that were you always they're always done for you when you're a child. Going up, you have food on the table, and then you either like it or you don't like it, or you eat it reluctantly and you choose. But then when you have the choice to do whatever you like, it's very similar. Because this is like when you're much younger, and then there's people around you, and when you're like in the school sort of age, you sort of just like, I'm going to continue hanging around you because you're a friend of mine because I like you. And if you don't like someone, you just say, I don't like you, or you'll go, I'm not talking to Sean anymore. Like and there's just and then you just cut them out of your life, and that's simple like that. But now we're in this sort of realm, I guess you could say, that as an adult, for want of a better word.
Yeah, that's it. They really need a better word for people like us.
But-
Adult is not right.
But you have your own friends, right? And then you've been put in situations, often, that you're meeting new people. And a lot of these people you don't like, right?
And even more of these people don't like you.
And like you get introduced to these people by your friends, or like they might be like, "Hey, this is Tom. I work with him at the bank." And you're like, "Hey, Tom," and then he'll just start talking. He's like, "Hey, you look like a guy I know." And I tell you what, he had an ugly wife, and you're like, "I don't like this guy already." Like you're like, "This guy is already," but you can't say like, "I don't like you, Tom. Let's cut him out of my life." You have to continue going, "Okay, oh yeah, like tell me more about this terrible story
That's
that
it.
you're
You
going."
have to put up with the social mores of accepting someone and liking them. For 20 years.
'Cause you
As an
don't-
adult, 20 years you have a friend who you hate.
You hate, you hang on to them like grim death, like but like
I've
and
been trying to stop this show for months. He just won't fucking leave.
I just keep calling him, Liam, we're gonna do another one. It's like he approached me at a pub and talked about my girlfriend.
Well, that's how we met.
Yes,
We
well,
met throughout. I didn't know who you were for months.
Yeah,
months
no,
and months.
Well, I remember you always remembered
I
my
sold
name.
you a jacket.
You did sell me a
Well,
jacket.
not your name, Nagy. I knew your nom de plume,
nom de plume of
Nagy, but I didn't know your actual name, which
No.
we won't give away.
No, it's a
to the
special
listeners.
There's a special prize for that if you do know it. Because I tell you what, if you don't know it, you're not really my friend, and this is the kind of people that I'm trying to get rid of in my life. But like, there's this sort of thing. There's no like acceptable social situation where you can just say like, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. I'm going to walk away. You can politely walk away, but you find yourself like, especially in like weddings and pubs, circling back around or going back to the table, going, "Ah, is this person still here?" But like, my friend Seth Bose has a strategy that that he stupidly told me that how he deals with it, and then that he excuses himself and goes to the bathroom, right, and goes in because he's a stall man, so goes into the stall
He's,
and just
he's
waits.
got a small penis, does
Just,
he?
well, I don't know. He just prefers the stall, but he just waits it out. Like, so if it's at
It
a
must
wed-
be a Hungarian thing.
it might be. Well, they've often been oppressed.
They
So-
have been, yes. They had to do a lot of their, work and living in the toilet.
Yeah. Well, I had a friend like from Hungary. Well, actually, no, he's from Caesarea.
What part of Caesarea?
I don't know. I never found
Dunno.
out what part of Caesarea
Yeah.
was he from. I don't know.
Interesting.
But there was but like that's his strategy is just to leave because your bathroom's your safe haven. It's the only place you can't say I'm just gonna go sit over there for a while or I'm just gonna leave this conversation. You have to go like I have to go to the bathroom and you just stay in there for like undisclosed amount of time.
But for the socially awkward of us, the
Yeah.
invention of the smartphone has been about the greatest, party, not tool, I guess, the greatest
Yeah.
kind of party accessory ever. Because if you don't know anyone, or if you're having a particularly awkward time, you just like, I got a shit. You go
Yeah.
sit in there for 45 minutes,
Well-
play the Angry Bird or what have you, watch some youth tubes.
I don't know. I don't know how it happened that people before mobile phones that you could meet anywhere at like a disclosed time.
Yeah.
If I said I'm going to meet you at the cafe at 12 o'clock and then I'm running late, I just go 5 minutes. That's all I have to write. 5 minutes, and he'll be here in 5 minutes. Or you could at the very least call me and go like, "Where the hell are you?"
Well, it was like, I can't remember who it was that said it, but the classic example was if mobile phones had been in, wide circulation at the time,
Yeah.
Seinfeld would not have been a show
No,
at all.
it's not a thing.
Because every single incident in the show that messed things up, they just would be a quick text message. Oh, yeah, I'm running late. Or,
Yeah, because
I'm over there instead.
they're in a city with 12 million people. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, so it's like the chances of like, so to meet at a certain place at a certain time, if you've run late for any particular reason, you've left the house. If you didn't have a mobile phone, you can't just call ahead. You might have to call the place. Like, and just be
Yeah,
like,
call
can you tell the guy with the beard and he's probably wearing a hat and he's probably just giggling into himself because you're not on your phone. You're just sitting there and you like, can you imagine how short your patience would be that if you had nothing to entertain you and to wait for me, if I was 15 minutes late, you'd leave. And then if I arrive late, I'm like, oh, where is he? I have to ask her, did you see a guy over here? Nonsense. How did people ever maintain any sort of thing? Would they write each other? But also on this, do you remember before mobile phones, right? At the time of no mobile phones, when you
Mobile phone.
nobiles, none-biles, you had to. When you like had a friend, God forbid if you want to talk to a girl during school, and you thought I'm gonna,
Father would answer.
you'd have to call the home,
Oh.
and you'd have because like if you're like let's say 14 years old, you're not answering the phone, you're not the first answerer.
You're not the first responder of the house.
Especially at like 7:30, like post dinner, they're like, "Who the hell is calling?" So they're already like, "Hello," like, and then they have this like sort of like already animosity towards you, and you're a stranger, and you have to be like, and you have to say set things. You got to say, "Hi, is Sophie there?" You had to be like, "Hi, my name is." I'd like to speak to because you're in like the upper echelon of like manners, so you're throwing everything in. I'd like to speak to you, please. Thank you. And then there's also this fear that they're on the other line and listening to your conversations. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
It was
terrifying.
terrifying.
Oh.
I
Woe betide any man who stumbled over a telephone greeting. You'd be kicked out of the house immediately.
I don't imagine like how anyone before like our age, because thank God we got mobile phones with the, like early teens, like ish.
Well, actually, I would say it's affected my literacy horrible because I used to read a lot of books on the toilet.
Was it literally horrible? Also, like,
What? No, it's affected my literacy levels horribly.
Horribly, yes.
Well, there you go. Case in point,
Case in point.
listeners. I used to read a lot of
I
books.
think that's why I was
In
like,
summing up, it's the Constitution, it's Mabo, it's justice, it's law, it's the vibe, and no, that's it. It's the vibe.
yeah, I think horribly. I think it was
But I used to read a lot of books, Snaggy.
stop it.
I was a bookworm. I can read. And, I used to take them into the bathroom, spend half an hour, 45 minutes getting lost in a wonderful world of non-fiction or fictional, universe. And now it's just I just read dumb stuff that other people have sent me. And
Yeah, but now also like you're probably the most sort of active person that I know on all the socials, like all the social pipes.
all the pipes.
Because you got like obviously like people that knew you before I did, like, and you had this blog, the punk blog. What was it? What you?
Well, it was a punk hardcore message board I used to post on.
Yeah, and that was like something that I'd be like,
They were good times, good internet times.
what was your name on that?
No, I can't
I can't remember. But it was nonsense.
It was rubbish, yeah.
yeah, but things like that now, you like obviously Instagram.
I don't use Instagram.
But like Twitter, you're on Twitter. You got a Twitter handle.
I do.
What's your Twitter handle? Just so people-
Wolf Singlet, for anyone interested. My
Wolf
Twitter handle
Singlet.
is Wolf. I was wearing a singlet with a picture of a wolf on it at the time.
And I'm also
I miss that singlet.
Liam. Can I gotta ask you, what has Liam been tweeting lately?
Well, now, not much actually, because the Rugby League World Cup has been on, and that's been occupying all of my Twitter feed.
Yeah.
But this is not a footy podcast, Nagy,
No, it's
so I
not.
will take it outside the realms of footy for a bit. Now, what I've been tweeting about this week:
Yeah.
Kraft peanut butter.
Okay.
We all love Kraft peanut butter. It's a
Yeah.
wonderful product.
I've got some at home.
So do I. Mine's
Yeah.
empty, actually. I need it.
My
Shit,
two-
can we
my-
pop into Woolies on the way? All
Yeah,
right.
we can.
Sorry, we digress. Kraft peanut butter was recently purchased and
Yeah.
taken over by the Bega Cheese Company, and I say that is absolutely grouse. A good Australian company.
Hang on, Kraft is Australian?
No. Kraft isn't Australian,
Oh,
but the
Be-
peanut butter
Yeah.
branch of Kraft
Yeah.
is now owned by Bega.
A cheese company.
The cheese company, which is a huge deal for me because I love on toast peanut butter and cheese. So if they could bring the two together at last, that'd be really.
Stop.
However,
Stop. I'll hold you right there. Just say that again so I can give you
I adore more than anything almost
peanut butter
peanut butter
and
on toast. So you butter it,
Yep.
get the butter nice and melty. Peanut butter it, get the peanut butter nice and melty.
Sure.
Then you slap on a good slice of a nice strong vintage cheddar.
Oh, you like a sharp cheddar?
I love a sharp cheddar.
Yes, because you taste buds.
Like I use Colby more often than not because it's a more.
It's a melter.
It's a melter.
It's a melter.
I love the melters.
Yeah.
But ideally, if I were to get a cheese just for putting on peanut butter on toast,
Yeah.
it's got to be an extra sharp vintage. And so Bega,
Yeah.
the great cheese purveyors from the town of the same name, they now own Kraft. Isn't that bloody brilliant?
It is great.
It's grouse.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So hang on, they own the whole Kraft. Kraft is now, or just the peanut butter.
Oh, I didn't look into it that much.
Oh, you-
All I saw was
You've guaranteed-
Bega owns Kraft peanut butter. But they did keep the logo that's in the shape of Kraft,
Did we
but it
get-
says Bega.
Did we get Vegemite back?
I don't care. I hate that stuff.
Really?
Oh, terrible.
But what about Vegemite and cheese? Vegemite
I don't like
avocado.
Vegemite with anything.
You just don't like it.
I don't care for it.
Yeah,
It's
that's,
brewers. It's spent brewers' yeast. That's disgusting.
yeah, but that's also some sort of that's the hardworking nature of this of the city of the country. You know that we're just going to take the muck and and put it on our toast.
Fair call. Yeah, no, fair call. It's the ultimate Aussie battler spread.
Yeah, I don't know. The would have been a battler's battler that started putting on that toast. Would have been at a brewery somewhere, and they would have gone like, "Have you seen what Mick's putting on there?" It was like, he's like, "I'll tell you what, I was cleaning it up, and then
I just feel like it's lazy brewer. He dropped his toast
he's dropped his toast."
into the yeast.
Toast. There's a bit of toast politics going on. When I say going on, I mean going on just around me, because
Well, I'm sure it'll affect me, so bring it up.
well, it's sort of like the toast. How do you like? You know, like
You
how
fan
do
of
you
ghost toast? Do you like it burned, brown?
let's say ghost toast is 1, and like most like the edges is black is a 5. Where do you sit in the toast schedule?
2.5 to 3.
2.5
No,
to 3.
actually, probably 3 to 3.5.
Mine would be 1 to 1.5. Right? Like,
So you're a ghosty.
I'm a ghosty.
All right, yeah,
And
interesting.
I know my good friend Zach.
I wish you'd told me this before we started this podcast, and I could have not done this.
Zach Lachlan, a good friend of mine, hates me for it. That he's like that's not actual toast. You've just warmed the bread.
See, now that is funny because one of my good memories of Zach Lachlan is him talking about how he likes his steaks, and he says, "What did he say?" He said, "Slap the cow on the ass, walk it past the grill. That's how I want it cooked." And so you're saying to me, Nagy,
Yeah.
is that with toast?
With toast.
he's quite the opposite.
It's quite opposite. Yeah. It is. It's quite the opposite.
Isn't
He
that
likes.
strange?
He likes to. But I tell you what, when you want ghost toast, if you go a little bit over, it's fine because you're still in that realms of toast. But if you like it quite well done, and then you go over, you've ruined the toast.
Well, no, I like it a bit more well done because it holds more heat and it makes for better melting
Yeah.
for the butter and for the peanut butter and
And the
such.
cheese.
And the cheese.
God.
But look, that's not all I was tweeting about this week.
What
Nagy.
else
Now,
were you tweeting about, Liam?
actually, it was about sandwiches again. So I pretty much had tweet about rugby league and sandwiches. But the
Yeah.
other one I tweeted about now, occasionally, you know, if I've had a night drinking, whatever, and I'll order some greasy food,
You're only human.
I'm only human, thank you. And so left over in the fridge will be maybe some chicken and some potatoes. And
Yeah.
I've tweeted that sometimes you feel like a grilled cheese, but there's leftover hot chips, and the Batuta headline writes itself.
Yeah.
Because you'll see what I did is I prepared a grilled cheese with 2 slices of
Okay.
cheese with the chips inside the grilled cheese.
Liam, you know I love you. We're gonna have to stop you there. Why the hell are you keeping hot chips the next day?
Well, I got them from Domino's, and obviously with Domino's they have a certain delivery
Domino's?
limit. Domino's have been doing chips for at least 7 years.
It's
They're wonderful. They're really good.
no, sorry, but hang on.
They're always
no, no,
undercooked.
hang on, like, I gotta stop you again. So you've got the chips.
I've got the chips.
You've eaten the amount of chips that satisfies your hunger at the time.
Well, I always get them with a pizza, so I can't eat a whole serving of chips with an entire pizza and usually
no
some
one's
chicken
asking.
kickers.
No one's asking you for
So I
this.
put them in the fridge,
But
and then I pull them out the next day,
They don't
slap them between some slices of cheese, in some bread, in the toaster.
your whole like psyche of life is to do things between in a toasty, which I love about
More
you, Liam.
so, actually, yes, to an extent,
Yeah.
but I more strictly adhere to putting potato in everything.
Yeah, okay.
So yes, I try and put as much in a sandwich as I can, but putting potato on stuff will always come number first.
I just love how the fact that you can take the cold chips out of the fridge, reheat them in a
no,
sandwich.
no. Yeah, you reheat them in the
Yeah,
sandwich.
in the
Yeah,
sandwich.
yeah.
But then the thought of Vegemite is just just beyond.
Disgusts me.
You have a very odd palate and a very odd mind, but also that's why we enjoy your company, Liam. Just the realms of the realms of.
I think
the-
you're mixing up your words there again, Nagy.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nagy just said enjoy. You meant to say tolerate.
tolerate. I tolerate you. I tolerate you, Frank. It's like if I looked into your mind. Like if I had like just a glimpse in there, it'd like be the picture of the stairs that go like to the same spot. Like
Hey, you mean crazy stairs?
Crazy Stairs, yeah. Yeah, very good.
Nailed it.
And there's also Crazy Stairs was our phrase of the week.
Phrase
so
of the week. Crazy
everyone-
stairs, ladies and gentlemen. Try and work it into every conversation you have this week.
the craziest of all the stairs. But I tell you what, Liam, this has been another great pleasure into the realms of your mind, which has only been about food.
It's mostly going to be about food.
But I tell you what, you have to eat.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm
someone-
only human.
Someone told me once that it was like talking about like people that are, like I don't know how they could live on the street and stuff. I was like, someone was like, "Oh, you're only ever 2 paychecks away from being homeless." And then I was like, "Oh, that's something." But I was like, "You only have 2 meals away from being starving as well." Like, you know what I mean? Like, the assumption that you're going to be eating these large.
That's very philosophical of you.
it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it? Do we have a thing? Oh,
Do we have a philosopher's button?
no, I think. But we could probably just. It's probably just the vibe again. Boom.
That's very
our
long.
Mind exploding and splatting everywhere else.
Putting it on toast.
We gotta cut down the button use.
Yeah.
But we have a very special show next week.
Oh,
In a-
absolutely. An enormous show.
In one fortnight from today, we have some special guests. We've got some guests on, Liam.
Wonderful guess. Yes. Now,
Let's-
you all remember the Ballad of Joey Johns?
Yeah.
You know, front runner for the Aries this year. Absolutely ripper song, actually.
The greatest Newcastle
Unbelievable.
song I've heard since
Yeah.
the Newcastle whoa 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 whoa, and that pretty much went on like that.
And they're about the only two Newcastle songs. So, yeah, the boys from Nah Mate. Check them out if you haven't listened to them. Nah Mate. They're doing a lot of good stuff around Newcastle Knights music.
Yeah,
And we'll be having those boys on for a bit of a chinwag. They've got some big news for us, I think, Nagy.
very big news. So
Very big news.
It's going to be very exciting to have them on, and I'm looking forward to it greatly. And
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to having you back, Liam. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone else out there. We love you to bits. But we'll be back in a fortnight with some very special guests. And look out for us on the social pipes, as well as the what's it called? iTunes. I choose to listen to this.
the Mad Monday.
Oh, there we go. Stop this. All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Another tremendous production.